Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, history was made last night in Los Angeles with the Dodgers and the Cardinals in LA. Something that just 2 months ago, I kind of gave up hope on because he did not start off the best this season. But let me tell you something. This man, who surprisingly got past Kyle Schwarber in the first round of the 2022 State Farm Home Run Derby, and almost got to the finals too, I believe, seemed to have the opposite effect of being in the Home Run Derby, I'd say. Because there's been a history of people who have been in the Home Run Derby, and then in the second half of the year, though, their swing gets all thrown off. Some people, though, seem to know how to handle the Derby, though, and be able to still stay consistently. And I think Albert Pujols actually has done even better since being in the Derby than they did before. Because he reached a milestone last night that I believe he could do it at the beginning of the year, but around the All-Star break, I wasn't too sure. But the recent hot streak, we've kind of seen the Pujols of old. And last night, September 23rd, 2022, history was made. What is going on, guys? This is the Club of the Man 1993, and this is a video to congratulate Albert Pujols on grabbing probably one of the final, milestones he needs. He was destined to do so. Maybe could have been more if it wasn't for, a few, setback years and a couple of nagging injuries. But Albert Pujols did a milestone that he's made clear several times that he didn't seem to care as much if he got it or not. Although he must have cared a little bit because of how emotionally apparently he got in the tunnels after he went back to the dugout after this moment. But last night, Albert Pujols became not only just the fourth player in Major League history, but the first ever Latino player to hit 700 home runs in the regular season, as he went into last night's game with 698. He hit number 699 in the third, and in his next at bat, which is either in the fourth or the fifth, he hit number 700. Number 700 came off of Dodgers reliever Phil Bickford, and was a 3-run shot. And at the time, Pujols had driven in all 5 runs in the game at that point. And of course, it was in Los Angeles, which of course he did well with the Angels, of course, for about 9.5, 10 years, play in there. So it was kind of near home. He did play for the Dodgers for half a season last year. But again, it was just so fitting when 2022 was known to be the last year for Albert Pujols. It was so fitting for him to come back to St. Louis. I still wish he could have hit number 700 in St. Louis, but he still hit it in a place where he is loved. And I think Albert Pujols is a very respected player. And he seems like a great man and everything. He's never really, yes, other than the fact that, I used to despise him years ago. He was with the Cardinals because he would just destroy us. But I can't help but recognize a great man and great talent. And I think Albert Pujols definitely, has earned my respect over the years for sure. Even though, again, I'll be honest, I hated him when I first started watching baseball. I absolutely hated him because he kept destroying the Pirates. But then again, it's not his fault that the Pirates just suck. Of course, one player I knew he absolutely owned was Ian Snell. He destroyed he destroyed every Pirate basically, but I know the one guy they always emphasize that he always destroyed was former Pirates starter Ian Snell. But let's just talk about some of the numbers here real quick, though. Of course, the only other 3 players, as known, to have 700 home runs besides Pujols is Barry Bonds, 762, Hank Aaron is 755, and Babe Ruth was 714. I don't think Pujols is gonna pass any of those. There's only about like a week and a half left in the season. It was the second time also in his career that when he hit a milestone home run that he had hit 2 home runs in the same night. The last time was when he hit his 500th homer against the Nationals. He hit number 499 and 500. didn't waste time because there's some players that go into a little bit of a funk when they're on the verge of a huge milestone hit, but he got it. Of course, the last person to hit 400 home runs, hit their 700th home run was Barry Bonds back on September 7th, 2004. Of course, we all know the story about Bonds, but Hank Aaron hit his 700 in 1973, and Babe Ruth did it way back in 1934. Of course, Pujols returned to St. Louis this year, which will be his final year. He was drafted by the Cardinals in 1999 as like a 31st round draft pick, I think it was. He was a later draft pick. And he shot up to the minors, and in 2001, he was not only named National League Rookie of the Year, but he also finished 4th in the MVP voting. Between his time from 2001 to 2011, he had won 3 MVPs, 2 World Series, and led the majors in OPS 3 times, cementing himself as one of baseball's all-time greats. In that span, he had hit .328 with 445 home runs, 1,329 RBIs, and a 1.037 OPS in 1,705 total games. And of course, it would be, at that point, people were like, it would be a matter of when, not if, he would join the 700 club. And of course, I think, personally, of course, his time with the Angels, we'll get to that in a second. Obviously, it didn't go quite as planned. He still was somewhat productive still, but definitely the injuries, and he wasn't as dangerous as he was in St. Louis, as he was with the Angels. But I think personally, if he would have stayed strong for a few more seasons, I think he could have broken Bonds' record. I do think he could have. There's only one other person, I look back and I look at the numbers. I'm not going to count Alex Rodriguez. I'm sorry, but he's disappointed me big time. The only other player I think could have gotten the 700 homers in recent years is Ken Griffey Jr. But again, injuries caught up to him, unfortunately, because I always remember reading this in the Baseball Digest magazine. From 1996 to 2000, Griffey hit like around 250 home runs in that 5-year span. But then injuries from 2001 to 2005 limited him to just like 98 homers. So, again, I think that if Griffey would have had some healthier seasons between 2001 and 2005, I don't know if Griffey would have broken the record, but I think he would have definitely reached 700 homers as well. So Pujols getting there, I'm glad to see happened. He signed a 10-year deal in 2011 with the Angels worth $240 million. We've had some higher ones since, of course, which I think if he would have signed a deal like that today, he would have gotten much, much more. He would have gotten like Mike Trout type money. He severely underperformed, especially on the back end of the deal. He had a decent first year, hitting .285 with 30 homers and 105 RBIs, but then from 2013 to 2016, that OPS that was like 1.037 was only 783. He averaged 29 home runs in those years, but he wasn't living up to the deal, and it just got worse from there. And then in 460 games from 2017 to his last game as an Angel in 2021, he hit just .240 and an OPS of 694. He would end up being designated for assignment at the end of April 2021, and then the Dodgers picked him up, and he had a part-time gig with them, and that was before the designated hitter was made a thing for the National League in 2022, of course. But he was able to still hit 12 homers in 85 games. He had hit 5 in the first month of the season with the Angels, but he was hitting like a .198 before he got released from the Angels. And then he was again a free agent after the season, and I kept saying, even, of course, through the strike and whatnot, I'm like, there's no better way for Pujols to go than to go home, to go back to the Cardinals, to finish off his legendary career. This is a man that, obviously, his best times were with the Cardinals. Yes, he had a few years, I feel like that doesn't go quite recognizable with the Angels, but he was nowhere close to being as good as he was with the Cardinals. So it's so fitting for him. And again, he needed 21 home runs to get to 700. And, with how he did with the Dodgers last season, I'm like, okay, there's a universal DH now. Give him the at-bats, and I think he can do it. And I kept a watch on him for a while, and he was off to a slow start this year. again, at the All-Star break, I didn't think he was going to do it. I did not think he was going to do it. But again, since mid-July, though, he has, again, been on a hot streak. And he's been like the Albert Pujols of old. Just recently, I heard he's like, he homered today, he hit this homer, and first like, okay, he's kind of going to get close. And I even, again, read reports again saying that he didn't, it wasn't going to get to him whether he got to it or not. He looks at the numbers, and he's proud of his career. He didn't think he needed 700 homers to prove anything. I agree, but it still would have been a nice moment too to have, especially for a baseball fan like me. But then again, ever since July 10th, he's been hitting .312, an OPS of 1.026. He has now had 17 home runs in his last 54 games. He's raised his batting average from that stretch from 198 to 261. And again, the record, of course, was at the same time where he's chasing 700, and Aaron Judge is still chasing 61 and 62 for his single season record for Yankees, and the all-time for American League in a single season. But the Cardinals, the Pujols is not the only Cardinal to be chasing history this year. There was Yadier Molina and Adam Wainwright who just broke the all-time record for the most starts by a battery, with Wainwright and Molina pitching their 325th game together in their careers this past Wednesday. I also think, again, this was very, very fitting for Pujols to come back to St. Louis and retire, because it's also the year that Yadier Molina is retiring. Adam Wainwright has not decided anything yet, but again, I personally think this would be the proper time for Wainwright to go too. It's the final three members of like a certain generation for the Cardinals, for like a legendary team. Again, I know they're rivals with the Pirates, but again, I still think it would be a nice way to for them to finish together. In my opinion, I don't think you could ever have a perfect moment, because those three guys are three of the best. Well, I wouldn't say Wainwright's one of the best pitchers of all time. In Cardinals history, yes. I don't know about all time. He's a strong pitcher for sure, but there's still a lot more to stand above him. But he still had a great career, and he's still like finished strong at like 41 years old. Molina is one of the best defensive catchers of all time. I'm give him that credit. He's one of the best catchers of all time. And Pujols is legitimately one of the greatest of all time, for sure. It'd be very fitting. And honestly, also, I'll say this. I do kind of hope the Cardinals win the World Series. I think their magic numbers at 4 to clinch their postseason berth. It would be a nice way to end a generation than to win the World Series. More I've noticed it. So yeah. Now of course we're still watching for history made, as we have 12 games left or something like that, and Aaron Judge still needs 2 more home runs to get to 62. Again, there was a brief time after the All-Star break where baseball kind of cooled off all in general for me, so I was kind of losing interest. But again, this chase got serious. Aaron Judge's home run total got serious. Just stay tuned for sure. Hopefully I'll be doing a video soon about Aaron Judge. But Albert Pujols, again, my boy. And also, shout out to Adrian Beltre, who was in attendance, and when Pujols crossed home plate for number 700, he immediately ran behind home plate and through the netting gave Adrian Beltre a high five. Very class act for sure, and also a future Hall of Famer as well in Beltre. But again, Albert Pujols, my man. I know years and years ago, 15, 20 years ago, I despised him. Again, I absolutely despised him. You can ask anybody who I know. But again, through the years, I've definitely grown to respect. I mean, again, it was just more because of just the rivalry. But as I've gotten to know baseball more, I've learned much more to respect not just the player he is, the man he is also. And he deserves this. And the fact that, again, guy who just likes to keep it cool and whatnot, you know, he went to the tunnels and let his emotions out. I'm glad he enjoyed the moment. Again, he felt that he didn't need it to prove anything. He was happy with how his career was. But this it makes it a little more special. I'm proud of Albert Pujols. I'm glad he got to this mark. He deserved it. He very well did deserve it. And also, of course, I got to say this too. Not only is he the fourth player to hit 700 homers, or the first Latino player to hit 700 homers, he's now him and Hank Aaron are the only two players of all time to hit 700 home runs and 3,000 hits. That's impressive. And especially from a guy, too, you've seen from almost nearly the start of his career to his end, too. It's just fun to see. Because Albert Pujols, again, as I always said, I became a baseball fan. I still have the game right here, as I played it a couple years ago. Because of this game, Backyard Baseball 2003, was what made me a baseball fan. And Albert Pujols is the very last player from that game to complete his career. And boy, oh boy, it's been a fun ride. Albert Pujols, again, congratulations again to 700 home runs. What are your guys' thoughts on Albert Pujols getting to 700 home runs? Did you guys give up hope at one point this season like I did? Or did you guys always believe he'd be able to do it? Make sure to leave your thoughts down in the comment section below, guys. Be sure as always to slap a like on the video, subscribe for more content on my channel, follow me on Twitter, DemanderBonnie3. Hopefully we'll be back up here again in the next few days to talk about Aaron Judge. Crossing my fingers. Hope so. I want to see him do it. Get the 62 home runs. And yeah, honestly, it'd be nice to see the Cardinals maybe win the World Series to end the careers for Albert Pujols, Yadier Molina, and maybe Adam Wainwright too. Like I said, I know Wainwright hasn't said anything yet, but if he still feels he can go, cool. But I feel like it would be a nice, memorable way for all three of them, for the last of that Cardinals generation, to go out. So, thank you guys all for watching. I'll catch you guys all later. Have a great rest of your Saturday. And peace out, everybody.